All right, guys, I'm going to bring in Gators on Baseball.
A podcast with balls.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. January 30th, 6:45. And this is probably the first time in a while that Christian is actually further north than I am. He's up north visiting his mom, and we are bringing to you Skaters on Baseball. And we want to talk San Francisco Giants and pretty much anything baseball. But how you doing up there, Christian?
Dude, it's cold, man. It's really cold up here, but it's not the Great White North because there ain't no snow on the ground.
Okay.
But yeah, it was 34 this morning when I got up, so that'll tighten things up a little bit for you, right?
Yeah. And you, the mornings I think are tougher than the nights. Like the nighttime, you can I don't know, get warm until you go to bed. But when you wake up in the morning, you get out of bed. It's like, that's for me the worst when you're just like, it's cold.
Yeah, we get a raging fire going in the wood burning stove here, and it just makes the whole house toasty. But dude, that heat dissipates by the time I get up like 5:30 in the morning. It's like, whoo, it'll get down below 60 in the house. So I'll turn the heater on for my mom so it's not freezing cold, and then I go outside and start doing work and I'm freezing my ass off.
Well, at least working warms you up, you know?
Oh yeah, man. And then you start sweating, and then you start getting colder than you were before.
Oh yeah.
It's gnarly. Yeah, it's like I go out
like
and
skating in the cold.
Totally. I got like a thermal on, and then like a lightweight hoodie, and then my down jacket, and then it's like 10 minutes into doing whatever I'm doing, then the down comes off, and then I'm sweating underneath, and it's just like, all right, whatever. But physical work's good for you, man. You know, just running chainsaws and shovels and you name it, it's up here.
Stay young forever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, obviously there's a lot of chatter going on lately. And I think it's funny because I was thinking about this earlier. The chatter kind of increases as the production decreases. In other words, like the less things happen, the more people are talking, and it's a lot of crying. It seems like to me, there's a lot of like white towels getting thrown in, and we're going to start watching the WNBA. I'm hearing all kinds of stuff out there. But as a baseball fan that realizes, pitchers and catchers haven't even reported yet, spring training's still coming, there could be trades, there could be acquisitions, and there could also be like, whoa, Luis Matos is a whole new version of himself, and all this stuff can happen, right? Yeah. Anyway, Taylor Rogers, the first ever trade from Buster Posey, turned out to be Taylor Rogers going to the Cincinnati Reds. It came out today that possibly they were trying to do maybe a three-way trade where the Giants were trying to get Luis Robert at some point from the White Sox. Mm-hmm. But yeah, let's talk about this Taylor Rogers thing, because personally, and I think you know this, I tell you this all the time, I don't think there was anyone on last year's roster I wanted to be off the team this year more than Taylor Rogers. I saw him constantly come in high leverage situations and blow it. In fact, so many times that they put him in non-high leverage situations, and that's how his ERA gets lower, and all of a sudden, whoa, he's thrown 60 innings and his ERA is this. Yeah, but like, it's the same thing as everything. It's like, when was he pitching? Was he in the game when they were losing 7-1 or winning 8-2? Like, he didn't come in anymore. He actually got passed by a rookie, Eric Miller, and the guy's making $12 million a year. So I understand everybody like me at first was like, yes, Taylor Rogers got traded, 12 million off the table. We can have 12 million towards Alonso or somebody else, right? Wait, Cincinnati got paid 6 million, so only 6 million comes off. Right. Anyway, to me, I'm happy about it. I'm not even, and the other thing too is our strength is our bullpen, right? And we will get another lefty, guys. Don't worry. Oh, there's only one lefty, Eric Miller. How are we going to play? Like, the funny thing is, Taylor Rogers, he was better against righties. He wasn't even that good against lefties. So we got tons of right-handed pitchers that can pitch against right-hander guys, and our bullpen is stacked. So we are not going to miss Taylor Rogers.
Yeah.
That's my
Well, look, let's look at the trajectory of Taylor Rogers for a second, okay? San Diego closer, okay, and he's great as a San Diego closer until he wasn't. And then San Diego couldn't get rid of him quick enough. He goes to Milwaukee, I believe, where he was subpar. And then the Giants decided, oh, the novelty of, we got the tallest active pitcher in the leagues, and now let's get the Twins, man, will be the first ever, like, first ever disease is bad. It's like the X Games. It's like, oh, it's the first ever 1270. It's the first ever can Superman double backflip. That shit don't work. And I think the Taylor Rogers stats are deceptive because, like everything in baseball, situational things are important. When they brought Taylor Rogers into games that were lopsided either way, he was okay. They brought him in high leverage, tight game situations. He was abysmal. Okay. His brother pitched light years ahead of him. And, I get it. Losing a lefty in the bullpen is never a good thing because you want a little bit of balance. And now we only got one. But, bullpen guys are relatively easy to come by. And so they can pick up another lefty if they need it. The dominance of a lot of the right-handed guys in the pen, it kind of leaves it like it's not as big a deal as everybody's making it out to be, but everybody's crying, and it's like, man, everybody should be happy we got rid of that guy. It doesn't really matter who they traded for. The guy's going to be a minor leaguer. He's going to be a reserve sitting in sack waiting to come up if they need him because of injury. Fine. I just think the doom and gloom is like out of hand.
Well, I mean, here's what here's what came up in my mind after all this goes down, because I listen to other people, and I mean, I'm addicted to this stuff. Like I am. I really wake up wanting to listen to somebody talk about baseball. That's how I love to wake up. A cup of coffee and a headphone and a walk. Walking, listening to people talk about baseball. That's what I want to do. But when everything is like, blah, 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 I'm like, you know what's going to happen? All these motherfuckers that wanted Mike Yastrzemski gone, the minute the Giants trade away Mike Yastrzemski, they're going to be like, but what did you get? What did you get? It's like, you wanted him gone. Yep. Get rid of them. New faces, youth. That's what we want, right? Same thing with Taylor Rogers. Like, what? We got Ryan Walker, Camilo Duvall, Tyler Rogers, Eric Miller, Rodriguez. The list goes on. And then we've got all these starters with no place to pitch because we already have like 5 starters in the rotation. Maybe they're going to, try to give Beck or Wynn or Roop or one of these other guys a long relieving situation until, whatever happens. We don't know. But the thing is, if the glass is half empty, it's also half full. And we need to stop looking at it like, ah! And I get it. You got to talk about something every day and you have a show to do and all that stuff. Because I texted Murph this morning. I was like, is it fair to say we should have a little patience and maybe wait till opening day before we throw in the towel? And he responded, I got a show to do every day, man. I was like, okay, bro, that's on you.
Yeah, well, stop talking about the 49ers and the Warriors and start talking about baseball, you won't catch so much heat. Now, I will say this afternoon on KMBR, they were talking Giants for a few minutes because I caught a little bit of it.
Cool.
And the gist of it was Buster Posey and all of that. And I think what's going on, I mean, I hear a lot of crying, a lot of yelling, a lot of screaming. We got rid of Farhan, right? And we all lived through that and we're all bitter. Okay, I get it. Like, it's hard for that stink to wash off real quick. So we got to give Buster a chance. And I don't think this team is as bad as people are making it out to be. And, you know, maybe it's just that thing. You go extreme, you scream and yell, you're like a shock jock. People are going to jump on and listen to you and watch your stream and whatever. But it's like, let's be realistic about where the Giants are at, where they're going, more importantly, and what we can look forward to in the future. You know, this is going to be a better team this year than it was last year. Okay. The minor pickups that they've made so far aren't that minor. I mean, Verlander is an afterthought. Adames is huge, right? And we got all these young guys, and I personally, I'm excited about the young guys, right? I love having a young team, guys that are developing, guys that are trying, you know, figuring out the grind, getting into the mindset to play a game every day. I mean, that's exciting to me. If you can't get excited about that, then just wait till these guys are all old and decrepit and tune back in, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I think you hit it right on the nail. It's like people are really frustrated and bummed from the Farhan situation that we just dealt with. And so that's why we changed, right? That's why Posey's here. But you can't just take that and think that you got to give him some time. He jumped into a shitty situation and he's trying to make the best of it. Let's give him some time. Let's at least see what the team looks like on the field this year. You know, like we don't know what the rotation's going to be. We don't know who else is coming or who's not coming. And to just say like, they're cheap, they're saving money and they're not going to do anything. It's like, what's the good in that when in 2 weeks they do something and there's still 2 months till opening day and they do something else after that. And all of a sudden they got this team that you're all excited about by opening day. And you look back and go, oh, geez, I wasted a lot of negative energy. I mean, let's not forget that Taylor Rogers was put on waivers last year with Tyro Estrada and nobody picked him up. So we're not going to trade him for like, you're not going to get Castillo or somebody for him. Like it's like nobody wants to pay this guy's salary. So they got rid of him, much like Melanson. It's like, we got to just get rid of this dude and move on.
Yeah. It's called cut your losses. Right. And I think it would be unreasonable to expect that Buster Posey could waltz in his first year of tenure as the Pobo with the Giants and go to Charles Johnson and go, you need to spend $1 billion. That's not happening. You know, he's going to have to prove himself, and he's going to have to earn the right to walk into the owner's office and go, you're not spending enough money. Okay. You need to break out the checkbook. And the Giants got caught in this situation because of Farhan, where the salary was kind of absurdly high for the talent and the product on the field, right? So then you're in a situation where they've spent so much money, now you're losing draft picks and pool money by picking up these free agents. So they're going to be real careful about who they sign and for how much. So as much as we might like the Alonso deal and bringing him in for 3 years, 1 year at first base and 2 years at DH, I mean, he's expensive. And is it worth sacrificing those picks and that money when you've got a young squad? You got a bunch of guys that are going to be out to prove themselves in spring training. And look, the majority of this team is going to be younger dudes, sub 30 dudes. And to me, that's, like I said, it's exciting, man. Like I love seeing the young guys break in and do good, you know? So I think that's the thing that a lot of people are missing, because they didn't get the giant splashy, we signed 6 of the top 7 free agents this year. That's not happening this year. And it's probably not happening next year, although I think they may be a little freer with the free agent market next year. That's all going to depend on how Buster gets, you know, his experience and his time in, and he gets it all figured out. And then just how these guys perform this year. I mean, some of these young guys could end up being big trade pieces at the deadline if they really perform this year. And if they're guys that were like, yeah, if we could upgrade over that guy in a trade, great. You know, I mean, they got a pretty deep team of a lot of young talent.
Yeah. And I mean, look, Farhan was supposed to figure it out. Like, he had the young talent, and last year was the year he was supposed to figure out, like, is Harrison a guy? Is, you know, but he didn't, and he's gone. So now Buster needs this year to figure those things out. And there's probably going to be a different process in figuring it out. Like, is Birdsong for real? Is Harrison for real? The other thing too is all this talk about them being cheap and everything. It's like, look, they're the 5th highest paying team in all of baseball, just behind the Dodgers, Mets, Yankees, and I don't know, Cubs or 2 other teams, but they're not spending. And for example, the Adames signing was the highest signing they've ever paid someone in the history of the ball team. So my point is just that, like, look, we all want more. And it's kind of like, I laugh with my wife because she'll be like, hey, I got us tickets to the Giants game. I'll be like, yeah, but where are we sitting? Like, that's the mentality we have, right? It's like, no, like, just like, let's go enjoy the baseball year, guys. Come on.
Yeah. And it's, man, I think the good thing about last year, which was an otherwise miserable season, is we got to look at some of these young guys. We got to see, does this guy have potential? Does this guy not have potential? I mean, we got to see some bright spots and all of that. So a losing record sucked and underperformance sucked. And a lot of the games weren't particularly fun to watch, but we did get to see, for somebody who's really deep into it, it's like, we got to see Birdsong pitch. We got to see some amazing stuff coming out of his hand. Did he only go 4 or 5 innings here and there? Yeah, he did. But look at him. He's a little kid, he's got time to develop. So I'm really looking forward to spring training. I think it's going to be interesting, not only with all the guys that they have that are going to be getting their reps in to see what's what, but there's going to be a lot of non-roster invitees as well. And we don't even know who those people are going to be. So it could be pretty interesting come spring.
Oh, it will be.
I just think that the everybody's already marking the Giants down as, it's going to be a sub 500 season again, and it's going to be this again, and why the fuck do we get Verlander? And it's like, that's not the stuff to focus on. New year, new team, basically new manager, since Farhan's not going to be calling in the lineups, and we got Buster in there, so it can't be worse. It can't be as bad as last year. It just can't.
That's already so much that we wanted, right? It's like, we wanted to get rid of Farhan. He's gone.
That was more important than picking up a great free agent to us at the end of last year. Was the most important thing that could happen is Farhan could get fired.
Yeah, Farhan was in the headlines or in talk radio daily about, like, this guy, he's gone.
Yep.
Be stoked. And then it's like, we got Adames. We thought we were going to get Ha-Seong Kim and not have a shortstop for half a season. We got Adames, the best shortstop available. And this guy looks like something more than a player. He looks like a real clubhouse guy, a dude that's going to, like, spark other people and help. Ramos was on KMBR the other day talking about how him and Adames are already in, what's it called? Paraga or whatever, their training place in Arizona, Panago or something, whatever it's called. But they're already down there texting each other every day, going to train every day. And Ramos is like, I love this guy. He's down to help me. And, like, that vibe right there is contagious. And that's the kind of stuff we want, And I just think, like, I don't know. I can't say enough how bummed it makes me when I'm getting excited for a new season of baseball and all I can hear or feel in the air is these negative vibes of, like, dude, just go talk about, like, seriously, go watch NFL.com all day or something and see where Purdy's gonna go, or, like, I don't care, but, like, don't bring it into a season that hasn't even started yet. I really am excited to see Grant McCray. I'm really hoping that he gets the bat on the ball more often and he ends up working his way into our lineup, because the guy looks like a 5-tool player. If he can hit, he's got speed, he's an amazing defender, and he's kind of like, he's exactly like the guy that I think of that I want on a team, like fast, steals bases, great defense, and, can score from first on a ball in triples alley or whatever. Like that kind of stuff is really fun to watch, win or lose.
Yep. Rick Brown correctly pointed it out. It's Papago.
Papago, my bad.
Yeah. So those guys are down there working out already. And there is going to be a huge cultural shift this season with Farhan being gone and just bringing in a guy like Adames who seems to have this great positive attitude, this influence. He's almost got like a little aura around him. You saw his press conference when he signed, right? And I think that when you combine that with somebody who's got the competitive attitude of Chapman, let's say, right? And you got Webb out there, and now you're starting to look at like this foundation of guys who bring that winning attitude. Have they played on a winning team the last couple of years? No, but that, the attitude is what's important. And I think when you get enough guys like that in a squad, the other guys come along, they see how it's going. They see like, this is the way, this is the attitude. We go out here, we expect to win. We're going to do everything we can to win, and we're going to be competitive. It's a long season. It's a grind. We're built for it. We're ready. And I think that they've got more guys like that now than they've had in the recent past. And it's going to be, I think it's going to be something to see. Are they going to win the division? Hell no. But, let's see a proper performance. Let's see some great, exciting baseball, and let's see where it goes.
And the other thing I would want to add to all this is there's 3 levels in my mind. There's low, there's mid, and there's high. Mid does not mean low. Mid means mid. Mid is better than low. So quit acting like mid is low, because low is a lot worse than mid. Just ask the White Sox, okay? The Giants being above 500 every year, I'd way rather rebuild this way, guys. I don't understand the thinking of let's get rid of Webb and just start from scratch. Why not have a couple key veterans, Chapman, Webb, Adames, while you're building this youthful movement and having a mix of older veterans that can help the younger guys, and there's less pressure on all the young guys because there is veterans. It just makes so much more sense, and it's a funner product to watch. If you want to watch all scrubs, just go to San Jose and watch the single A team, or go up to SAC and watch triple A, or fly into Eugene and watch the Emeralds. Like all levels are available, but over here at Oracle, it's a pro team. So we're not just like, let's get rid of everybody. Oh my God, they didn't get Soto. Let's just throw in the towel and trade Webb. Like none of that makes any sense. And I don't think that mentality belongs to a true baseball fan in my mind.
Yeah. Well, the Webb trade talk was coming out of desperation from people who thought that they weren't doing enough at the beginning of the offseason with the big splashy moves, right? But what I see is this team is going to be really energetic. I think with all the young guys, like there's going to be a lot. It might even spill over and be a little bit too much energy. But I'd rather have that. I'd rather have guys out there running their ass off, playing as hard as they possibly can. They're going to make a few mistakes here and there. That's just the reality of learning the trade. But every really exciting baseball team in the last 25 to 30 years has started with a young core, and they've built around those guys. I mean, look at Baltimore, right? Look at what they did. They brought in all these young nobodies and turned into a powerhouse in 1 year, right? No, I'm not saying the Giants are going to do that per se, but like it's a similar model. It's like you bring up your draft picks, you got guys that are coming up within the system, and you're giving these young guys a look, a serious look. And I think that's really what's important. I don't think there was enough of that. And we saw what happens when you do that with Ramos, right? Once Ramos got up and he stuck, man, he was great. Made the All-Star team. How can you complain about that? That's exciting, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm expecting, hoping for. And I think we're going to be pleasantly surprised with whatever, the opening day lineup is. And it's going to be interesting,
So I don't understand this. Eddie, you got to explain this to me. So only for rich teams does that make sense to not trade away everyone and completely rebuild. Only issue is Giants have pretended to be a dirt poor team for a while now, even before Farhan. How did they pretend to be a dirt poor team? I don't understand that.
I think he means by virtue of their actions and spending. In terms of, the Giants are the 5th richest franchise in baseball, right?
Mhm.
The value of the franchise. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're cash rich that way, but that's what they're valued at. So I understand, I think we could agree that there were times in the past where the Giants missed out on all these top free agents because their offer just came up a little bit short. And if the offer was the same as many times as Farhan claims, which I don't believe, then there was something else about San Francisco that these players didn't want. But I'm of the mind that a lot of times the Giants came up just short on their offer. They were $5 million shy. They were 1 year shy. I think a lot of that was, based on the stupid analytics that became such a eclipsing part of Giants baseball culture that it prevented them from signing those people. It's easy in retrospect to say, like, we could have had Bryce Harper, we could have had Trey Turner, we could have had Aaron Judge, we could have had Juan Soto, go right down the list of all the top free agents. Sure, every team could have had them, but they didn't get them. And, in some cases, a couple of years down the road, we're going to be going, man, I'm glad we didn't get that guy. I'm glad we didn't get Soto personally for what he would have cost and what he's actually worth. Oh, no.
And like already, like, dude, I pay attention to stuff that's out there, not just Giants. And the Mets fans aren't that stoked that he passed up going to Fan Fest because he said he couldn't find a plane. It's like these type of things are the things that, like, it's like that prima donna type vibe. That same thing, like Warriors, they're talking about trading for like a new guy, and Curry and Steve Kerr are like, we don't want this guy to ruin our chemistry inside the clubhouse. And that's what the Giants won't do. The Giants will not bring in that type of a cancer. And that's why I think Jack Flaherty hasn't been signed yet. I think he's known around the league as that type of guy that's just like, he ruffles people's feathers, he complains, he's kind of a dick or whatever it is. Like, I don't know this personally, but you hear it, and enough people say it throughout the league, must be true, right? That's what everyone tells me. So I don't know. I'm excited. We got Jung-Hoo Lee, hopefully for a whole year. And why do I say hopefully? Because we don't know. So when you're negative things like, oh, you're just saying hopefully, like, well, hopefully can work either way. You're hopefully he's negative, whatever. But he's going to play for the whole year unless accident happens, something that we can't expect. Adames is going to be exciting. Chapman's going to have a better year than he did last year. Patrick Bailey is going to improve dramatically and really take a lot of having like Buster and Bomel and bringing in these guys from Sacramento that they worked with. Now they're going to be working for the Giants. I think all that stuff, Damon Minor, these past relations they have, they're going to help them out. And then the outfield is going to be so exciting to me because we got Ramos, Jung-Hoo Lee, and then there's McRae, Matos, Yastrzemski, Encarnacion. But there's only one position. There's also a DH, but that is the type of thing you want going into spring training, because it's going to put fire under their butts for competitive natures, and you're going to see the best of these guys. And I'm excited to see McRae versus Matos, because I hope that one of those guys is the starter in right field, unless we, there was talk of Louis Robert or some other outfielders that they've been looking at. But as of right now, that's my take, is it would be great to have Yaz as the fourth outfielder, like on the bench, late inning replacement. He can come off the bench and hit like in late innings and all that. But I want to see Matos or McRae. I really want McRae. if he can bring up, bring down the strikeouts.
Yeah, I think Yaz as a late innings defensive replacement is probably the best role for him at this point. And honestly, the outfield, the guys that were available in free agency, like Santander might have been a guy that we would say, yeah, bring that guy in to move one of these young guys out. I mean, he's of that caliber, but how many other outfielders were really out there that you would have said, like, yeah, I'm willing to kind of give up on some of these young guys in order to bring that dude in? I can't think of any other ones that I would have wanted, right? And it's just, I don't know. I've got more confidence, I guess, than a lot of people, and maybe it's misguided, but I don't think so. I think that they're going to be kind of the sleeper team. I think they're going to kind of surprise people a little bit, because these young guys, the fire's there. I mean, when we interviewed Grant, it's burning. He's got it,
And I heard it in Ramos on KMBR yesterday, and Fitzgerald too, man. Fitz is like pretty confident. Like he's ready, and he wants to show everybody that like he's going to play second base every day, and he's that guy. There's a lot of speed there, If Fitz can be a leadoff guy, have his average around 300. I think there's 2 or 3 guys at least on the team that are going to be 20-20 guys, 20 stolen bases, 20 home runs. Chapman could do that. Jung-Hoo Lee could do it. And Fitzgerald could do it. And who knows, Ramos maybe. I mean, those are the type of things I want to see, is like speed, a little bit of power, and raise the average and the bat to ball. I think if they can work on not striking out as much, a lot of those runs that they left on the bases last year will score. Yeah. They got to be able to hit a fly ball to left field with less than 2 outs. They got to be able to hit a ball to the right side when there's a guy at third. And, there's so many things you could still get out, but drive in the run if you hit the ball. Exactly. If you don't hit the ball, there's no chance.
Yeah. Well, that was the biggest problem last year, was just simple execution. And, to be fair, you take a guy like Brett Wisely and you're putting him in a position where you expect him to execute consistently. Brett Wisely's not the guy who's going to do it, right? We know Yaz's strikeout totals were horrible last year. Okay. And we don't know if that's a 1.5 seasons worth of just who knows what's going on, or if his swing is just really kind of dead now. But I think that was a big part of the problem, was you're expecting guys to execute and they're not quite capable of doing it, or the moment gets too big for him, right? The guy's up there and he's not thinking like a sac fly would be good here, get a run across. He's thinking, oh, I want to hit a triple to the gap and empty the bases. I mean, it's hard to hit in the major leagues, right? It's hard to hit for average in the major leagues. It's hard to get extra base hits in the major leagues. So the expectation should be simple execution, getting bunts down, not striking out, taking your walks, making a pitcher throw 9 or 10 pitches in at bat, and then just getting that little bloop single will get the job done, right? That's simple, is the thinking process. The execution's hard. But I just think the thinking wasn't there, and the execution definitely wasn't there, and the talent wasn't there as much as it's going to be this year. So,
and that's why I think Chapman's going to have a better year, is because it was his first year on the team, and he instantly didn't have Jung-Hoo Lee on the team. And so the surrounding team was lesser than, which added more pressure to a guy to be the guy to carry the team. And it's his first year on the team. This year, he's going to be way more comfortable. He's going to have Adames with him, a whole year of Jung-Hoo Lee. Ramos is like more experienced. I think there's going to be a lot more, it's going to be able to be divvied out a little more. And I mean, I don't want Chapman to bat 4th. I hope that they're not going to do that. Like he needs to bat 5th at the earliest, but I would like to see him 6 if possible. Yeah. And if he's a 6 hitter, he's probably one of the best 6 hitters in the league. I mean, if you can put him back down that way, but yeah, it'll be interesting, the lineup, because they're already talking about like Lamont Wade leading off, and Adames batting second and Jung-Hoo Lee batting third. And then I'm like, who's batting fourth? And it's like, I don't know. Is that Encarnacion? Is that Ramos? Is that Chapman? It's not going to be Bailey, that's for sure. Like, we need, and that's why I think people want to see Alonso. I think people just want whoever the best guy is available, and they don't think too much about like, well, it would be better off if we didn't get this guy and put all our eggs in another basket, but we just have to have patience. Nobody has patience. We want Alonso, and then Alonso goes back to the Mets. It's like, we want Bregman. And then Bregman goes somewhere. It's like, we want this guy. And it's like, we just want. And it's like, we don't really need a whole lot. A right fielder and a first baseman / DH. I think that's kind of, I'd love to have another ace starting pitcher, but I'm interested to see what Robbie Ray's going to bring. I think he's going to bring it, and the whole attention of everyone on the 42-year-old guy that left his wife at home and he's already in spring training. That's right, kids. Kate Upton will not be in Arizona for spring training because Verlander's serious and he's getting into the action. So
yeah, if you were booking that,
cool. I like it all. The storylines are there for us, and baseball's about stories. Just ask Marty Lurie.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you were booking a Southwest flight to go see his girlfriend, you might want to reschedule that flight. So, yeah, I mean, the batting order thing is kind of a mystery to me because I don't know that Wade leading off is really that great when his legs are kind of toast. I want the speedy guys up front. I want Lee. I want Fitz. I want the guys with wheels up front to get on to make things happen. I mean, think about it. Guys who are base stealing threats put pitchers on edge. They put pressure on the pitcher. And that's something that the Giants really didn't do much last year. These pitchers were up there kind of casually glancing over at first. I mean, the steals just weren't happening. And that needs to be, the running game needs to be, there needs to be more emphasis put on that. And even if you're not running, you need to be taking big leads. You need to be getting out there and making that guy think twice, getting him a little bit like split on where his head's at. Is his head on the batter or on the runner? That's how guys make mistakes. That's how things happen, As much of a game as it is about your own success and doing everything right, you got to depend on the other team making mistakes as well. And if you can force those mistakes, fantastic, I mean, that's just what it is with teams that have base stealers on them. So I'd like to see the speedy guys up front. I'm with you. I think Chapman as high as 5, but more likely 6. And to be fair, Chapman had to bat higher in the lineup last year because of injuries and guys just not getting it done. And Melvin's probably thinking like, well, at least this guy is kind of productive at the plate. So I guess I got to move him up in the lineup, As far as the cleanup spot, like I'd love to see Ramos or Fitz in that spot. They both have natural power. It's really a question of consistency, right? These guys are consistently hitting. Yeah, the cleanup spots are great for either one of those dudes. I'm cool with that. I think Adames third. I think, Lee in the 2-hole, I mean, it's all interchangeable, but I think once it kind of the lineup gets solidified, if Chapman gets moved down, that's going to take a little bit of pressure off him. I mean, look, he gave us 25 home runs last year. What do you want? Out of a third baseman? That's great.
I mean, it's blasphemy, but I have a hard time not saying that Chapman played better defense last year than I've ever seen in person for a whole season. And that's including Brandon Crawford, which is really high praise. And I understand that. But some of the plays that I saw that guy make were like all time. Like that play where he threw the guy out to either lose the game or win the game. I think it was the Mets. That's forever. Like that play, bare hand, it's all on the line and he gets the guy just by like that kind of stuff. People kind of forget about, I think, because it's not the glorious home run in the 9th inning walk-off where everyone pours stuff on you. but that was amazing. And he did a lot of stuff like that where he's deep outside in the foul ground and he's just got a cannon and I mean, his defense, I can put up with a few strikeouts because of how great he is defensively. And I just don't want to focus on the bad aspect of like this little pie chart when there's so much other stuff that's good. I mean, Chapman is, he's in the top 10 third baseman in all of baseball. Fitzgerald was number 6 for second baseman, right? Jung-Hoo Lee doesn't get any mention because he didn't play all year last year. Ramos was an all-star. So right field is the position where I really look. First base and right field are both kind of platoony in my mind right now. And we need to change that. We need to get a first baseman and we need to get a right fielder and put the stamp on it, and then give them some time off from time to time and bring in some guys back up and give them time. But treat it like, I mean, Adames and Chapman together both played like 160 games last year. They missed like 1 or 2 games out of the whole year. Yep. Like that's huge too. That's just as big as Logan Webb throwing 200 innings. Like all these people wanting to trade Logan Webb. How many guys are we going to have to get to replace his innings? So think about all that stuff when it goes into it. And then think about also this. What was it, 3 years ago or 4 years ago? How many years ago was the outlier season where they won 107 games? It happened. It could happen again. They got almost the same team. So I'm just saying, like, baseball is not as predictable as everyone thinks it is. And a lot of things can happen. There's injuries, the ball going the wrong way, a bad call, this, that, and all of a sudden you got 107 wins. So who knows? And that's part of the beauty. And I always say, win or lose, there's another game tomorrow. And that's what I love. Waiting 7 days for the next game, that's bunk. That doesn't fly. I want to live baseball like I live life. Every day is like a new vibe, and you just tackle it with so much enthusiasm and bring in the stoke, and the team is going to feed off of that.
Yeah, wake up and get after it. So one of the other things they mentioned on KMBR briefly this afternoon was Bryce Eldridge. And the talk on Bryce Eldridge is he's a huge dude, apparently. He's big, he's cut, right? And he's got extreme power, apparently. He's been working out and he's just crushing the ball. So it's really about the waiting game now, about letting him get comfortable. So when they do bring him up, he's going to take that spot and keep it, right? So as far as I saw in here, somebody was talking about maybe Encarnacion as the first baseman as opposed to a Lamont and a Wilmer. I don't know. It's an interesting idea. So here's the other thing that I want to touch on in case people are waxing negative and they're worried about everything. Buster talked about being really big on pitching and defense, right? Well, defense, you look at it, what is defense? It's a run saved. A run saved is a run earned, okay? So if you're saving a run in the field, that's one less run that your offense has to come up with if it's a tight game, right? I mean, it has equal value. So I think with some of the defensive players that the Giants have now, they're going to hold the other team to very few runs, which means, hey, just score one more than the other guys. That's it. And I think that's important.
I mean, when Buster was on the team, that was the formula. If you score 4 more runs, you win if you're on the Giants, because their pitching was holding the other team to 4 less runs. And Rick Montoya, thanks for coming. I don't know if you're a Dodger fan or what, but like, if you want to do a side bet with me, I put $100 on that they're not going to be below 500. So that's all I'm just saying. But on top of everything else, it's like, yeah, and Paul wants the bunt. Like, I get it. Like, these guys got to get the bat to the ball. But yeah, I don't know. The negative Nancy's of the world, you can just stay negative and that's fine. But you can't ruin my ball game for me. Okay. All right, it's my ball game. And there's a lot of shit in this world that I don't like. But when I leave the world to go to the ball game, all that shit gets left behind. And I just love myself some popcorn. I love myself a little baseball. So there you have it.
Yep. Yep. There's a live stream that I have to go back and watch where Marty was on with a couple other dudes, and Chris Haft, who I haven't heard from in a long time, was on there with him, and they were talking Giants. I think it was yesterday, so I'm going to go back and watch that. But dude, anytime you get a chance to listen to Marty Leary, he's kind of in our camp a little bit. He's like, yeah, I mean this and that, so, but hey, how about this guy? And how about what he's capable of doing? I mean, the positivity counts. And I'm not saying that the fans have any effect on the outcome of how the team plays, but you do if you're in the seats in the stadium, you do, right? You can give that little extra bit of juice to these dudes. And with these young guys, man, they need that, man. They walk out there like a deer in the headlights. If the crowd's got their back, makes it a lot easier, right?
100%. I wanted to share with you guys, I got a mail day today. And you know me, when it's mail day and people are asking who the other left-handed reliever is going to be. And just in case, I got this guy.
Casey.
That's right, kids. Joey Lucchesi, who the Giants just picked up, a lefty. And then this was the last Jung-Hoo Lee card I needed of the update series. So that one's going into the sleeve, and then it's like cha-ching, 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 and it feels good. And this guy right here, keep your eye on him all year. He's going to bring a lot of excitement and entertainment to the team. I promise you that. Yeah, so there's the mail for you today. No woman,
Awesome.
no cry, right? Vita for life. Oh, God. Just mix. Glad to hear it. Liam Overton, go Giants. Tim McKinney says right.
Yeah.
So he must agree. He must agree.
Yeah. So yeah, it's now just going to boil down to what they're fighting for in spring, and the starting rotation. It's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out.
Absolutely.
Not only who's in it, but whether or not they're going to go 5-man or 6-man, and then just basically the order of who's going to pitch, right? I mean, we know Webb's our number one guy as of right now, which I'm totally good with. And I know that he embraces that spot as being the ace of the staff, being the opening day guy. And beyond that, who knows, right? It's a complete dice roll. I mean, I've seen all these projected rotation lineups. I'm like, I don't put any stock in that. I want to see what happens in spring, right? So.
Yeah. Let's see. So Vita says, you think they're done, skaters? I wonder if they'll go back to the Louis Robert deal that was talked about today. So I was listening to, I don't know. I've been going back and forth. So I don't know if any of you guys have Sirius Radio, but they have an MLB 24 hours, and they got, I don't know, one of the shows on there is really good. I like. And so I listened to that at a certain time. They were talking about the Giants, and I think the Reds were the two teams that were trying to get a deal done for Luis Robert. And what they were saying, which I thought was interesting, was the same type of thing happened last year with the White Sox, that the White Sox, somebody wanted to make a deal with, for, I think, was it Dylan Cease or somebody maybe? And they said no. And then when they went to spring training, they made the deal. So I do think the White Sox are going to trade Luis Robert. I don't know if the Giants, I think the Giants, their big disadvantage is Bryce Eldridge, because look, if you look at the top 100 prospects in baseball, the Giants only have one. His name's Bryce Eldridge. So when you're a team and you have these, suits that don't really care that much about baseball, it's just a business for these guys. When you make a trade, you got to give them these like, hey, we got one of the top 100 guys. And so that's who every team is going to want to go after, is Bryce Eldridge when they're talking trades with the Giants. Unfortunately, people don't realize that like Matos and, Fitzgerald and Bailey and a lot of these guys, they kind of came up a little earlier than anticipated. Otherwise, they would be in the top 100 prospects. Birdsong, like he probably should be in there maybe, but we'll see. And so I thought it was really weird that Roki is the number one guy. Like I was like, wait, is he a prospect? I don't get how some of this stuff works. But absolutely, we are not trading Bryce Eldridge. We know that. And so to answer your question, we are not done. I don't believe so. I believe that we will do at least one more thing. We will at least sign a free agent or make a trade. I believe it with all of my black and orange heart.
Yeah. Well, I feel like if they do anything, it's going to come from a trade at this point. And the Luis Robert thing is kind of weird because it's like he's a center fielder, which you've already got a glut of outfielders. And is he really a needle mover like Santander might have been? I mean, that's the big question. Luis Robert to me is like he's had a couple of pretty strong seasons, but he's not consistent year in, year out star
injury
caliber guy. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like Acuna. Look at that poor guy. I mean, it's one of the greatest players to ever get in the league and can't stay healthy, man. You just can't. So it's a bummer. I mean, I almost feel like who I don't know. That one just seems weird. And I know that people almost never trade within their division, but Padres dealing Cease and now Michael King apparently is on the trade block for the right price. Jeez, man.
That's what I'm saying. Like the Padres are losing guys and their ownership is in a shambles. I don't know. I mean, I get it. They were a great team last year and they almost knocked out the Dodgers in the playoffs. They actually should have. And I think that's their demise, that they didn't. They gave it their all and they didn't do that. And now I think they're falling apart. They're losing players one by one. The ownership is in a crazy battle. They might go to court over all that stuff. So I don't think it's far-fetched at all for the Giants to be above the Padres in the standings. And I think we can play with the Diamondbacks. I understand they got Corbin Burns, but other than that, last year we played with them. Like, I don't know what our record was, but we definitely beat them a bunch of times and they probably beat us a bunch of times, but I ain't scared of either of those teams. And I definitely am not scared of the Rockies. So I think there's a chance we can make the playoffs this year, but it's not really like expected on Buster's first year on trying to like makeshift this thing, right? I think that we need to give some patience to it. I was going to ask I see a lot of guys out there, Just Minks, Vita for Life, Paul, McKenney, Liam Moverton. What did you guys think about the moves today? I really am curious to hear, like, Max Scherzer to the Toronto Blue Jays. Is he going to get the same vibe as Verlander going to the Giants? Or is like, do we like Max more than, like, what do we think about that? And then Ha-Seong Kim going to the Tampa Rays. I thought that was really interesting because, Tampa had Wander Franco, who was supposed to be the next, like he was going to be the face of MLB before Ohtani. And we all know what happened to him. He's out of baseball. So Ha-Seong Kim, when he gets able to play, he'll actually be playing shortstop in Tampa, but he's probably not going to be healthy until like May or June. What are the thoughts on these things? And then Dylan Carlson also went to Baltimore. So yeah, I mean, Scherzer is an a-hole, right? Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I
Mets talking to Mark Canna. Please take him, please. I
would take Verlander over Scherzer just because I think that Verlander probably has better longevity at this point. Scherzer I think is going to come unglued eventually.
Scherzer's going to blow a gasket.
Yeah, and as far as feeling bad for the Padres, I love that little cat avatar, by the way. I don't feel bad for the Padres. The consensus is amongst a lot of baseball media people that the Padres were actually a better team than the Dodgers last year and that they should have beat them in the playoffs, right? And I tend to agree with that. I don't know that the difference was that big, but I do think the Padres were a better team that just ran out of gas. They couldn't take the heat in Dodger Stadium. I mean, whatever it was, right? And of course, now the Dodgers have gotten that much stronger and the Padres have gotten much weaker and probably will continue to get weaker. So,
yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. I mean, we'll see. I think that clubhouse and behind the scenes issues tend to spill into the team's productivity, and you'd be surprised how they might come out pretty soft. We just don't know. I think Diamondbacks are going to be really good. Look, I think Corbin Carroll had a subpar year last year, and he's better than what he did last year. And they got a great rotation now with Corbin in there, but they still have some holes and stuff. And I think Christian Walker was bigger than people are going to give him credit. I think he was a leader on the team, and he was a really, powerhouse, productive guy in the middle of that lineup. And I know they replaced him, but I don't know. We'll have to see on the first base situation out there. One thing I do know is Corbin's ERA should rise in Arizona because it's tough to pitch out there.
Well, not only that, but his last 2 seasons, his velocity's been down, strikeout totals have been down. I mean, it may not be as great of a signing as everybody thinks.
Senior.
I give the Diamondbacks a little less credit than you do, I think, just because first of all, I hate Corbin Carroll. I can't stand his little whatever. And I don't think he's really going to have the sort of career that, let's say, Altuve, biggest asshole in baseball, has had. I don't think he's on that level. And I think it's going to be exposed. Christian Walker, his impact is going to be sorely missed in Arizona. Even though he missed a lot of games last year with injury, his contribution to them being a really good team, you can't understate it, right? And it's really a big deal. So yeah, I don't know. And I think with the Giants, like, this season's probably not about making the playoffs. It's about getting foundational, getting strong, weeding out people that you need to get rid of, and getting the young guys their reps so that come 2026, it's going to be a strong team. They're going to compete. So that's where I'm at with it.
How do you feel about this? Bryce Eldridge for Tatis.
Shit.
I do it yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't even think about that.
Yeah.
I would take Tatis so quickly. Here's the thing. If Tatis has, it's the same thing with Vladdy, right? Everybody's like, would you do this? Would you do that? You can't do anything for 1 year. You're not trading Bryce Eldridge for anyone for 1 year. But if it's for a long-term commitment to trade someone that might be good for someone that is good, I think Tatis is one of the greatest players in all of baseball. I mean, he's exciting and he's clutch, and he's got tons of confidence. He might be a little too flamboyant for the Giants because we got, but I think with Adames there now, I would love to see Tatis in right field. Oh, yeah. God.
Yeah, and once he, after he got his shoulder fixed and he stopped messing around with the supplements, I mean, that guy's been one of the greatest players in the league. I mean, I think you'd take him for just about anybody, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of a no-brainer. I mean, assuming that you get him for, 4+ years minimum, because wouldn't be worth it to trade the farm for
exactly
less. But yeah, I mean, who knows what's going to happen with the Padres? We might see a fire sale of epic proportions. It could be that every guy on that roster is available, right? And if that happens, man, it's going to be like chumming sharks, right? Like every team is just going to be circling the boat. I mean, it's crazy.
Well, if they lose Cease and King, then they just have Yu Darvish and who? I mean, Musgrove's out for the year.
Yeah.
So their rotation would be tough, and they lost Tanner Scott already, and they lost Ha-Seong Kim, and I think and they lost Profar, and Profar did a lot for them last year. They lost a lot of guys. Yeah, I mean, we can all complain about getting Verlander, but what about losing 6 of your players that like were starters? Like things could be worse, you know? Rick Montoya, are you a Dodger fan? What team are you into? It seems like you got a lot to say.
It's fairly obvious. Okay, Melky Cabrera. Who else? Who else?
The milkman.
Yeah, Bond's never pissed dirty once, and yet he's the poster child for PEDs, right? And you can't really count like the early to mid 90s because every team was juiced. Your boy Paul LaDuca wrote a book about the entire Dodgers roster being juiced, right? So,
and would you rather have a PED user or a wife beater? Because the Dodgers are notorious for that. Ask Luis Arias. Ask a lot of guys. So,
yep. Well, shit. I mean, this is, I guess this one's sort of a breaker for all the negativity and just get people like hyped up on like baseball's right around the corner, man. It seems like it's been a 6-year off season, but it's finally starting to roll. Things are getting ready. Pitchers and catchers are reporting pretty soon. Spring training starting pretty soon. It's exciting.
Ron Say, Steve Garvey, that era. Good for you. Do you live in Northern California or Southern California? How'd you get into the blue and white? And do you think that Ohtani is innocent? He didn't know anything. Is that what you want to believe? Or
that whole thing's popping up again now. There's some other people are talking about it a lot. So
what's up, babe? Welcome to the show. A little late. We started an hour ago and we're winding it down. Yeah, you guys got rid of them. But Senior knows. See, I mean, it's nothing to laugh about, but it's just a true statement. So
yeah, they seem to attract those types of brutal characters. So yeah, I'm not with that. And you know, as much as we're not with it, the Giants organization is definitely not with it.
That's right.
And they're not really with the PED thing either. I mean, look at Melky Cabrera. He was having the season of his career. He's the All-Star game. He's the MVP of the All-Star game. Then he gets busted. He gets off his suspension and he wants to come back. And the Giants are like, no, we're good. And they go on to win the World Series without him. How was that? You know?
Yeah. And I mean, if we're being honest here, we might want to go back in history and take a look at this.
I am in the parking lot of Dodger Stadium. And not see if you can see or not, but I got some very angry fans who are inviting drivers to drive over Kershaw's jersey.
That's all I need to say, man. We don't forget in the Bay Area. We have never done anything similar to that to any of our players. So you can be a fan all you want, and I encourage you to come in here and give us banter. I love it. And, you know, it's just baseball. So we can't take it too serious, but unfortunately we do at times. It's in our blood.
Yeah. Well, man, I'm excited. I think we'll have to jump on and do an emergency stream just in case something big breaks loose. The Giants do another signing, another trade, something like that, you know.
And just remember, I am a fan, so I'm guilty, but I will be at FanFest all the way up in Sacramento. I know people that live closer to the Bay Area that don't go to Giants games, and I go to the Sacramento to see the players early because I'm fiending. So if any of you guys are in the Sacramento area on Saturday and are going to go by, I'll be up there. So come say hi if you see me. I know Senior doesn't like crowds. I get it, but I'm just a old man that loves autographs. So anytime there's free signings, I'm going to bring my little binder up and get as many cards signed by Logan Webb and Elliot Ramos as possible so I don't have to bother them during the season.
So I got a question for you. I saw your little post. Did you actually do a wardrobe change and go through the autograph line twice or what? You did?
Dude, we went through 3 times actually. It was interesting because in San Jose, yeah, I haven't talked about FanFest. So I went to FanFest in San Jose, and it was actually pretty cool. The way they set it up was like they had, let's imagine the yard's real big. So far east and far west is 2 tents. Each has people signing. And then far north is like a stage where they have a Q&A with the KMBR guys. And then they have this other thing far south where you can take a photo. There's like a photo booth basically with the players. And then they just rotate the players on the hour, every hour to the different stations. So they all are at, they've been everywhere. And my rep was there. I'm a season ticket holder, guys. It's true. And my rep was up there doing the line, and he was letting season ticket holders in this special line that just went straight, while everybody else had to go in this windy line that took forever. So we went in the line, went down, got Luciano's autograph, went back, got into that line again, and everybody was standing in the line like to the side saying, "We already got Luciano, we're waiting for the next guy." And we're
Oh, is your Wi-Fi locking up?
sunglasses and put my beanie on and all, and just, I was with like 5 guys that didn't change their appearance. I don't know why I get weirded out, but I just didn't want to get called out.
That's hilarious. So we got to comment on this one a little bit, right?
Tap out.
If anybody out there saw our stream with Eric and our subsequent stream with Glenn, we had those guys fired up, right? They were like, it was a completely different vibe from the show that they've been doing at night,
I thought so too. And I thought that I even talked to, about a couple of things that later came up the opposite opinion wise. And I was kind of surprised, but I get it. I mean, look, it's fine to be critical. It's fine to be disappointed. Like, I don't want to be the homer that like Glenn was saying, like, Greg's going to put a positive spin on if they get like a 3-legged dog on the team, like all this stuff. I'm like, look, I'm just as frustrated as anybody else, but I like to wait till the season starts and be frustrated when there's actually games going. So if the Giants lose and it's a bummer, like, I'll be the first to be like, "Oh my God, he struck out with the bases loaded," or like whatever. But I don't like to have this just like anticipatory negativity that's like kind of just opinion based and it's not anything yet. So, I mean, it could be, my dad always told me this because I used to have an anticipatory anxiety about trips. I'd be like, what if it's the worst? What if it's this, what if that? And my dad would say, what if it's the best time you've ever had? What if it's the best? And I think people could learn from that.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll be the first person to tell anybody, feel free if you think I'm being overly optimistic about where the Giants are at right now and what kind of season they might have. Please let me know. But I think I'm kind of on track with it. I'm not getting crazy like, oh, they're going to win the division, they're going to win 100 games. That's totally unrealistic. But I do believe that with the youth movement and the veterans that they've got, that this is going to be a totally different looking team this year. And that can only be a positive thing in my mind. I'm just, let's get it going. Let's do it.
Hey, Benji, welcome. Also, CJ Giddings, welcome. It's cool to see all you guys showing up for this. I was thinking today, because we're getting closer to 200 subs and it's, whatever. 200's a lot to some and nothing to others. And I understand all that. But what if we committed to one day and a certain time weekly if you guys get us to that 200 subscription mark? I was thinking that could be cool. Like, we could do like every Sunday or one day after work every time. So you just knew when we were coming on and we could be committed to that. And that would be kind of our thanks for getting us to that plateau. Hopefully we'll keep going. I want to get this thing rocking and rolling, and I cannot wait for baseball to start because it's going to be a lot of fun when we have daily things to talk about. Right now, people are still talking about the 42-year-old that got signed a month ago. It's like, I'm ready to talk about yesterday's game. Let's get in there and discuss some of this stuff. And how sick is McRae, dude? He's going 40 stolen bags this year, and he was on our program. So if you missed that, go check out that interview. Also, I've been making little shorts for YouTube. So check out Glenn's and Eric. They both have a separate one in there. And they're, I don't know, the energy that are in those, that's what brought me to this. So I always give them mad respect for kind of like being that like, oh my God, that's cool. But honestly, you guys in the chat, you're really what stokes me out. Like coming in here and seeing the comments and kind of feeling like we're all talking and discussing things. It feels so good. And it's a great way to vent, and it's a great way to like learn. And it's just a great way to talk about baseball when there's no baseball yet. So appreciate all y'all. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And once the season starts, I think we're going to be a little more animated on these streams rather than just sitting here and breaking it down. I think a little bit what?
Yeah, man. Shout out to all y'all. Shout out to McKenny. Stay up, buddy. I know things are up and down sometimes, but you got this. And we'll be on again real soon. Kristen's up north, and so we're kind of trying to figure out when availability is, but guaranteed if there's a move or anything, we'll be on within 24 hours of that, because
definitely
something new to talk about will be great.
Yeah.
As for that, I think that's about it. If you guys want to see the reaction when Tyler, well, so here's what happened. Taylor Rogers got traded. Everyone was stoked. And then they found out that they paid the the Reds $6 million of the $12 million. And then we saw this.
Oh no! Shit!
Love you, Eric. Take care, guys. Have a great evening, and we'll see you soon, hopefully.
And that's the ball game.
Bye for.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Skaters on Baseball. If you liked what you heard, please spread the word, give us a good review, or hell, blow us up on your social media if you're down. Follow us at Skates on Base on Instagram for baseball news and other fun stuff. We love comments and listener participation, so bring it with an audio clip or an email. You can email us at skatersonbase@gmail.com. We're everywhere you get your podcasts, and we'll be here all season long.
Let's go, San Francisco. Let's go, Giants.
I'm excited to give everything that I have for these next 6 seasons and, see where it takes us.
Adios, Pelota!
See you soon. Thank you.
And I am forever a Giant.